So you're thinking about buying a house, you're dreaming about buying a house, and you really want to get organized and figure out what should be your priorities. Well, I'm going to cover that with about 7 or 8 tips on how to get going on your home buying journey. Coming up right here. One of the things that I know keeps people sane and from going too emotionally crazy is to be super organized. And I'm kind of old-fashioned, although we all organize on Google Docs and maybe we have a folder on our laptop or iPad or wherever we go to. And you know, of course, your phone, right? But there's always needs to be a place for like handwriting notes, waking up in the middle of the night to ask that question of your realtor that you've been dying to ask them, but you keep forgetting. You need to have a place to put the flyer you might pick up at a model home, or maybe you went to an open house. Now this is April 2020 and we're not doing open houses, but I kind of think they're going to come back. And so you pick up a flyer from an open house and you pick it up because you want to remember that great open living room, because that's what you want your realtor to hone in on when they start helping you hunt. Or maybe you just wanted to remember the front of the house, the architecture, or the neighborhood because of the school that was there. You never know what's going to remind you of things, and it's nice to have one place to stuff everything. So I always say get together a home buying binder that has 2 separators, one for house buying information and one for lending information, because those are going to be pretty much the 2 main topics in your life while you go through this journey. So it's great to have one central place you can go to with some empty scratch paper, or get a lined notebook or something and put it in here too, because you'll have lots of questions and re-questions, and sometimes you'll change your mind, and sometimes you'll be readjusting, and sometimes you'll kind of be working through the process. Something in June might not be something you want in August. You know, it's a big creative process buying a house. Sometimes it doesn't happen overnight, and there's things you want to remember. So get together a binder or organize a Google Doc, something somewhere. But sometimes there's places you just want to stuff paper, and a good old skinny binder with a few separators in it can really make it great, especially if you're going out on a Saturday and Sunday and looking at houses and there's some kind of flyer you can grab. It's great to have one place to put it in, because when you're sitting back drinking a beer 4 days later and you're looking through your binder, you'll go, oh yeah, that was the cute house in that neighborhood that's perfect. It's near the elementary school. And you want to remember that. Or maybe you want to remember the great architecture, because that's your favorite kind. But you couldn't quite describe it to your realtor, right? It's mid-century modern and you didn't know what to call it, or something like that. You never know. So when you kind of have a place to stuff things, it makes for a good beginning to get organized in buying your house. Now the next thing you really want to consider, and I just did a video on this, is you want to meet a realtor. Maybe you want to meet 3 or 4 realtors, but you want to find one that you really gel with, because there's a whole lot going on when you're buying your first house, and it might go on. You might need to coordinate and talk to and meet with a realtor many, many times for maybe a year or something before you actually get to the point where you're going to pull the trigger and buy the house. So go and meet as many realtors as you can, talk to them, learn from them, and find out as much as you can about the home buying process. I know when I bought my first house, I had my home buying binder and I left it in the car, because sometimes I just wanted to pull into a real estate office and talk to somebody. One day I'd read about first-time buyer programs. I'm like, what's that? So I really did just pull into a random office somewhere, and there was somebody at the front desk, and a realtor spent like 20 minutes with me, not very long, but it was great because I got an idea of first-time buyer programs for the first time. And it was 2 years from that point that I actually bought a house. So you never know how long it's going to take you. I mean, in some cases, you know exactly, like you're ready to go now. But for a lot of people, they have to clean up credit, maybe get a little bit of a down payment together, and they just want to be informed along the way. So get that binder together and start talking to some realtors so you can kind of find out really what personalities and what they specialize in and how you're all going to work together. It's a great idea to get to know your realtor. Right up front and straight away, you're going to want to have your credit pulled, even if it's a year or two before you're going to buy. Because if there's things on there you need to clean up, you're going to want to start now. It can be a long, long journey. Now the lenders are better at coaching you on how to clean up your credit, how to go about it efficiently, and so that you end up with the highest credit score, because that high credit score gets you the lowest interest rate when you go borrowing money. So get your credit run early so that you can look at it and review it. And if you have a little late here and there on some of your credit cards, or maybe you want to pay off some of your credit cards before you buy a house, that's a whole video that I did as well in the upper left-hand corner. But credit cleanup, super important. I have a favorite book I talk about, and you want to start early. So think about your credit, get it run now. Even though it might change, it'll give you a good idea of where you are. Next, I would really think about, even though you might tell yourself, oh, we're not going to be ready to buy for 2 years, I would sit down and talk to lenders. A lender, like I send people to my favorite lenders, but I would sit down and talk to a lender very early. Often cases, people talk to lenders a year or two before they're actually ready to buy, because they need to know some stuff early, especially how much money do they need to save. Maybe they have a little bit, maybe they have a 401k, maybe they're about to inherit some money. Maybe there's trust money involved. Gosh, it gets complicated, right? There's a lot of different pots of money for some people, and you just need it to all be ready to go when it's time to actually look for homes and maybe make a decision and put in an offer. So get with a lender early on. Even if you're like, oh, I don't even know what to say to a lender. They know what to say. They're going to ask you questions, and then you'll start learning about what's important to a lender and what you'll need to get a loan. Another thing I would tell you to do is watch some of my videos, and watch them 2 or 3 times, because I talk about first-time buyer information pretty much constantly in my videos, through different lenses, through different angles. Sometimes I'm talking about what it takes when you actually make an offer. Sometimes, like in this video, I'm talking about getting prepared to buy. And sometimes I'm talking about the closing process, or there's so many parts to buying a house. What are the investigations and what are all those things? So watch some of my videos several times so that it starts to sink in, like all the things that are a part of the home buying picture. Now, one of the things you'll be very prepared for before you even make an offer is how the offer process actually happens. So I have videos on that for sure, but you're gonna really wanna know what happens when the flame gets turned up, because the flame gets turned up on the day you say to your realtor, oh my gosh, we love this house, we wanna put in an offer. Okay, we got, things are gonna happen. And you're gonna wanna know exactly what that means, because there's money involved just to look at a house that you just fell in love with. So you're really gonna wanna understand that process and get psyched up for it, because that's when the emotions start. That's when you kind of can get crazy, because finally you found a place. And you just really want to know how you and your realtor are going to communicate, what she does for you at that moment, he or she, and how the actual offer process happens. You want to make sure you're kind of tuned in and focused on that. Mostly your realtor is going to take care of the details, but you're going to be a part of it in a big way. So it's really good to kind of really understand what happens when you put in an offer. So let's say in your contingency period, you did a pest inspection for termites on the house and a home inspection, and they found $8,000 worth of damage. What then? all right? So you want to know and really understand what happens, what your realtor is going to be negotiating for you between the seller and you, so that the seller either repairs the house because she didn't know, or they didn't know that there were termites, okay? They didn't know that there was dry rot under the roof or something like that. These things come up all the time because every house, write this down, every house has something wrong with it, okay? Houses have been sitting out in the sun and the rain and the heat and the dry and all the weather, and they get things. They shrink and they expand and they kind of deteriorate. So you have to keep up a house throughout the years that you live in it. And if you fall in like with a house that you want to buy, you kind of want to know what condition it is on the day that you own it, all right? So that's why you're going to do inspections. And if there's anything pretty darn wrong with the house, we ask the seller to compensate us for it, either by fixing it or actually compensating for us, maybe giving us some money towards your closing cost, all right? So I talk about closing costs in many of my videos. Make sure you watch one of them. I might mention it after this, but you want to know what goes on as far as the negotiating between the buyer and the seller, so that you're not buying a house, number one, that you're not aware of what's wrong with it, and number two, that the seller didn't help you in some way, either paying you some money or a credit towards closing, or fix it. Maybe she'll go and fix the 7 or 8 boards in the roof so that she doesn't have to give you money. Everybody handles it in a different way. So learn a little bit more about the inspection period in the process of buying a house. That's super important, and that's in another video too, up there in the magical left-hand corner. Now, I mentioned a little while ago about seasoning the money. Do you know what that means? This is what it means. A lot of times people are going to use their money from their 401k, or their parents are going to give them a little bit of money towards their down payment. Well, escrows are usually 30 days, and what you don't want to be doing is on the 25th day of escrow, you put $50,000 into your bank account. Red flag for the bank. All right? That money, whatever money, especially large chunks of money that are being put into your bank account for you to purchase your house, whether you're doing it or another family member or what have you, it needs to be in there for a month or so before you buy the house, not days before. It'll hold up the whole transaction. It'll irritate the seller because maybe we have to go into a 40-day escrow, and they already have plans, and everybody has plans that everything was settled and done and organized before you made your offer. So if you have to season money, as it's called, if you're getting money from a family member or transferring it from somewhere, do it way before you start getting serious about making offers on homes, okay? It really makes all the parties happy, and it really makes for us hitting our target of a 30-day escrow. And finally, I know this is a little bit backwards because maybe I should have said this 4 takes earlier, but you're going to want to put aside about $2,000 approximately, and have it available to you for when you go looking for a house, because as soon as we start doing inspections, you have to pay those inspectors up front. And yes, if you walk away from the deal, you don't ever get that money back. So the average cost, or the typical, I should say, not the average, but the typical cost is about $400 for a home inspector and $400 for the pest inspector. These are the 2 main reports. Now, if the home inspector says, hey, you got to have a guy look at that roof, I think it's old, or you need to have somebody look at the pool or the electric panel, then we're going to hire an electrician and a pool guy to come out, or a roof inspector, and tell us the condition of the house, because that's what we're doing, right? We're inspecting this thing you're about to buy. And those guys will charge you $150 sometimes. Sometimes they come out with no fee, but not very often. They'll charge to come out there. So you can see this adds up into the thousands of dollars, at least $1,000, $1,200, $1,500. All right. So depending on who you are, your type of home. If you don't mind homes that need a little fixing up and you really just want to know the condition of what you're buying, then that's fine. We know you might go tear out the kitchen and throw Home Depot at it, right? And redo it. But for some people, they don't want to do any repairs when they move into a house. And they want to know up front. So I want you to know that you'll have to spend money on getting enough knowledge so that you know exactly what those repairs are going to be after you move in. Especially if the seller, maybe they've already moved and we're looking at a vacant house, they're not going to come back or pay anybody to repair it. You're going to have to do the repairs. So they will probably compensate you for it, give you a little credit towards your closing costs, as I've mentioned before, but we really want to study this subject that you're about to buy, and that can cost you, I'm just going to round it up to $2,000. All right, it's just what you do when you buy a house. Yes, you make the offer and then you do the inspections. I know that sounds weird. I know you're thinking, well, I want to go inspect it first, and if it's good, I'll buy it. It's not how it works. Okay, don't freak out. Yes, that's how it works. You make an offer. We've done some homework before you made your offer, but you make the offer and then you do the inspections. Here in Sonoma County especially. In Marin County, the county next door, one of the counties next door, the sellers do a lot of the inspections right up front. There's hardly a house that's sold there where the buyers have to do the inspection. But in Sonoma County, it's 50-50. We're becoming a county where more and more realtors are coaching their sellers to do inspections, and do the repairs before they put the house on the market. But it's not always the case. Most of the time, I would say, be prepared to pay for your pest inspection, your home inspection, and whatever other inspections you want before you purchase the home. Now let's talk about walking away from a deal. Okay, so I don't usually like to bring this up because I just want you to buy the house. But what if in that 17-day period that's indicated in the contract you signed, that's your time to look into this house, what if something happened and you got a new job in another state right when you just made an offer on this house, okay? And you're like, heck yeah, let's move to Texas or Tennessee. And you decide to give up this deal. Or let's say you discovered this house needs a new roof and $20,000 worth of other things. Like, it's kind of a fixer-up. And you didn't really realize that when you first fell in love with it. And now you really don't want the house. Well, all you have to do, your realtor does it for you, is we do a cancellation notice. But we have to do it within that 17-day period in order to get your initial deposit back for you. So there is that little time in there where your money, your initial deposit or your earnest money is being held at the trust at the escrow company, and you're looking into this house with investigations. But here's the deal. For whatever reason, whether it's a life change of some kind or something that was indicated in one of the reports that we had done, for whatever reason during that 17-day period, you can walk away from the deal and get your money back, okay? That's the most important thing to remember, because that is a real stressor for first-time buyers. They're like, oh my God, I have to put $18,000 down. Well, you're not really putting it down. You're putting it in trust to show the seller the money, to show them you're serious. The actual exchange of money is actually the contract in the legal world. So you're showing them you're serious with your money, okay? But you have an escape that you can get out in 17 days for whatever reason. Maybe you just wake up and you go, I thought that I liked the house, but today I don't really like the house. And you could just decide to move on and keep looking, all right? So it's okay to walk away from a deal. But most of the time when we get to the point where we're putting in offers and we're making, these decisions, we've done a lot of investigating. As your realtor, I would have called, gotten reports. We've done a lot of things to find out about this house before we even get to the physical inspections. So there's a lot of the ground that can be covered so that you don't have to have some drama of, well, we didn't know about the roof, we didn't know about this, we didn't know about that, okay? So we try to work through a lot of things before we even put in an offer, I guess is my point. So hang in there and make sure you hire a realtor that knows how to investigate before you fall in love with a home. So there's terminology in buying a house, like the word contingency. It makes everybody crazy. But what happens when you go to buy a house and you make an offer and the seller accepts your offer? Well, you're going to accept them accepting your offer contingent upon you looking into buying that house. If you do inspections on that house and you want to leave the deal, you can do that in a certain period of time, which is written on the contract, and you can get out of the deal. So just because they accept your offer and go, hey, that's great, I'll accept $1 million for my house, doesn't mean you're ending up buying it, okay? It triggers, as soon as they accept your offer, it triggers a whole series of events that, give you an opportunity to look into this house that you're about to purchase. So you really want to understand what the word contingency means to you and to your money, to your earnest money, your initial deposit. So you put in an offer, they accept your offer, and then you take 3% of the offer price to a title and escrow company, which I also talk about in a video, all right? And you take it to them and you put it in trust with an escrow and title company, which shows the seller you're serious. And that's when people get nervous because they're like, well, what if we don't like the house? I'm putting down $21,000. Well, you can leave the deal, but we have to do it in the specified time that was in the contract, because you're accepting, the seller accepting your offer contingent upon you doing your investigations. So the word contingency freaks new buyers out, but that's what you're doing, is you get an opportunity to inspect this house that you just fell in deep like with, and you have an opportunity to escape the deal if you don't like it. So study up on the word contingency, because it's important. It's the heat of the battle. It's the top of the flame right there. So I'll put the definition of contingency below this video, and I would read about it, because that's when first-time buyers can freak out. And you don't want to freak out, you want to be well informed. And make sure you have a realtor that's helping you navigate that whole process. So what do you think? You ready to buy a house? I'm excited for you. And now you know way ahead of time some of the most important parts of buying a house and getting ready. A lot of getting ready for buying a house is right here and right here, because it's a journey, right? And you want a realtor that'll help you navigate down that windy road, because it's a windy road, and you want to be prepared. Let me know anything you're thinking about buying a house. Put it in the comments section below, and look in the description section also, because I have all kinds of free things, free buyer guides, relocation guides, VA guide, and I'm an affiliate with Homes for Heroes. So if you're active or retired military, or a teacher, or one of our great first responders, through the Homes for Heroes program, I give you a nice check at the end of your transaction towards, it's just a big check from me, and you'll be able to buy a new couch or outdoor furniture or something awesome after you move into your new place. So check out the link below for Homes for Heroes. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button right there and the little bell, and you'll get all my future videos. This is Anita with Keller Williams Real Estate and Discover Sonoma County Living, and I'll see you around the neighborhood.